spoke about community, and within our various communities we've been thinking a lot about how we can support each other. Support can look very different. A few years ago, Martin and I went with the family to watch my niece running her first marathon. This was in Bournemouth. The picture in our head was of a very flat run along the beach, the Esplanades, but the reality was there was an enormous hill. It came about 3/4 of the way through the run, and like many marathons, it was part of a big loop outside of the main part of the town where there was no one to support. So Martin and I decided that we would drive to that part and really give her some support. Well, when we got to the top of what would be a big hill, we decided we'd walk down a little bit further so we could do the last bit or cheer her on in the last bit together. But the further we walked down the hill and went round the bend, we realised how long this hill was. So we walked right down to the bottom. Eventually, we saw this lone soul come chugging along the road, looking exhausted. And I was cheering and crying out her name and just clapping. But Martin, as he had his trainers on, just jumped in beside her and started running with her. And they ran up the whole of that hill together. When they got to the top of the hill, she wouldn't let him leave, and so they ran most of the rest of the run together, and then he dropped out just before the end. I'm sure she appreciated me coming down to Bournemouth and cheering her on, but I'm sure she was much more appreciative of Martin, who ran alongside her. And there are various different kinds of support. For some people, we can just support them by encouraging and giving them a phone call, but sometimes we do need to get alongside people. That's tricky in these times, but in the future, as the lockdown gradually reduces, that might be something we need to think about. I'm reminded of a time when we were building the drive at the front of our house. It's over 20 years ago, and we were trying to do it all on our own. I say we. Martin was trying to do it on his own, and with various friends that came to help him. And as it got towards the end of doing this drive over several weeks, he was out there every evening after dinner, sometimes by the light of a torch, just trying to do a little bit more and a little bit more. And it came to the last final bit push, and it was a Sunday evening and it was pouring with rain. He said, "No, I'm going to finish this." And he went outside, and Nigel and Diane came round to see us, and there were no spare tools for Nigel to help him. And Nigel was obviously very frustrated about what he could do. So he went out and stood, and he put an umbrella up and just stood next to Martin, covering him, sheltering him from the rain as he finished the final bit. And I'm reminded of that verse in the Bible when it talks about being sheltered under the shadow of God's wings. For some people, we will just need to be alongside, sheltering them from the worst of what they're trying to deal with. We may not have all the answers. There may be nothing we can do, but we can stand beside them and support them in that way. So I'd encourage you to have a little think about the ways that you're going to be able to support those around you, because this is going to go on for a long time, but every bit of support will be appreciated. Have a great day.